Hey guys, this is Miss Hall, and we are going to work today on a new goal on adding and subtracting fractions, as well as adding and subtracting mixed numbers. So let me get my screen shared here so you guys can see what we're going to be doing. Okay, so we're going to start on this website with some fraction tiles. So if I wanted to first add fractions, let's say 3/8 plus 2/8. Okay, let me get this off. So if I'm going to do 3/8, I would want 1/8, another one, another one. That's 3/8. But the problem is 3/8 plus 2/8. So I'm going to add two more eights. 1, 2. So now when you add them together, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have 5/8 as your answer. Okay, so let's try another one. Let's say we wanted to do 1/4 plus 1/4. So there's 1/4. We add another 1/4. And what do we have? 2/4, which can also be the same as 1/2. Now you can also subtract fractions. So let's say we started with 4/6. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 4/6. But I want to take away 3/6 this time. So I'm going to get rid of 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. How many are you left with? You're left with 1/6. All right. Let's try another one. Let's do 3/10. 1, 2, 3. So we take away now 2/10. So 3/10, take away 2/10. So take away 1, 2. You are now left with 1/10. So using these manipulatives, that's one way that you can see it add and subtract fractions. You could draw these out and color them in or X them out, and that would be one way that you could solve an addition subtraction problem. Another way would be, let me get my screen here, is if you're just given a problem like this without having to use a picture. Well, we have like denominators, which means both of these are cut into tenths. So if I'm using like denominators, that's not going to change. You're not going to add 10 plus 10. Because remember, we use the manipulatives, the denominator stayed the same. So both of these are still going to be cut into tenths. All you're going to do is add your numerators. You had 2 pieces in the first one. You had 1 piece in the second one. So 2 plus 1 now gives you 3/10. Same thing if you want to subtract. And again, this is without having to use a model. Your denominator is 12 because that does not change because we are subtracting from the same denominator. You started with 5, but now you're taking away 3. So 5 take away 3 is now 2, which gives you 2/12. Now, for those of you that are ready to go on and reduce that down, or in my class, we like to cut it in half. We cut half of 2 and say it's 1, and half of 12 is 6. So you could also say 1/6 was your answer. Okay, let's try 2 more. 2/11 plus 1/11. Our denominator is what? 11. What is our numerator? Well, the 2 plus the 1 equals 3. So 3/11 is your answer. Okay, 5/8 plus 1/8. Sorry, it got covered just a little bit by my next slide. But our denominators are both what? 8. So that means our final answer is going to have a denominator of 8. We add our 5, add our 1. What's 5 plus 1? 6. Therefore, 5/8 plus 1/8 equals 6/8. See if we can reduce that. What's half of 6? 3. What's half of 8? 4. So 6/8 and 3/4 are actually the same answer. So either one of those would work. Okay, so what if it's a mixed number? So I know this week you guys have been working on learning about mixed numbers and you've been decomposing fractions, so we're going to put it all together. So using a model, if you had 2 and 5/8, you could draw models out. I've already got them drawn here just to save a little bit of time. But if you were working this out on your own, or as you do the work assignment after the video, you are more than welcome to draw the model. So if I have 2 and 5/8, I would shade this entire whole thing in here. Not the best little shader here, but this whole thing would be shaded in for one hole. But I need 2. Okay, so now I have 2 holes. But the problem says that I have 5/8 as well. So that means I've got to color in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. So here is 2 and 5/8. Okay, now we're going to add to that 1 hole. So let's color this hole in. And then for 2/8, we'll just color in 2 pieces. So now, as we look at this, how many total holes are shaded? 1, 2, 3. Right here. Here's 1 hole. Here's 2 holes. Here's 3. So I have 3 holes shaded. Now let's count the parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over here. 6, 7 over here. So that would be 7 over 8's our denominator. Remember, we do not add the denominators together. So the answer for this problem was 3 and 7/8. Okay, what about a subtraction? All right, so the way I would draw a subtraction, I would start with the first one, 2 holes. So shade in your 2 holes. And then it says I have 5/6. Oh, sorry, I haven't shaded my 2 holes in yet. I'm trying to go too fast. All right, so there's my 2 holes. Okay, 5/6, we're going to color in 5 spaces over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, it tells me this is a subtraction problem. So I'm going to subtract 1 hole. That means I'm going to get rid of 1 hole. So I am going to mark 1 hole out. I am done with that one. As far as my fraction, it says to get rid of 1/6. So I'm going to get rid of 1 piece of this 1/6. Now, to determine the answer, you just look at what you have left. You have a hole. There's my hole. I have 1 hole left. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces left out of my denominator of 6. So my answer right now could be 1 and 4/6. Now, could you reduce 4/6? You could. You would leave your 1 hole. Half of 4 is 2. Half of 6 is 3. So you could also say this is 1 and 2/3. They would be equivalent. All right, scroll on down and look at a few more. All right, over here we have 2 and 1/4 plus 2 and 2/4. So I'm going to shade in 2 holes and then 1/4. Here I'm going to shade in another 2 holes and then 2/4. So 1, 2. So now I'm going to add them together. So first, add all your holes. So I have, hold on, let me get my pen here. All right, so I have 1 hole, 2 holes, 3 holes, 4 holes. So I have 4 holes. Now, count what's shaded as the parts. Well, there's 1, 2, 3. So I have 3 parts out of a total of 4. So my answer is 4 3/4. Okay, over here, I'm going to shade in 4 holes. Okay. I'm not the greatest little shader with this mouse. I'm learning. So sorry. Oh, let me use this eraser. Oh, no. I think I'll erase the whole thing if I do. Let's go back to the problem. I don't want to erase the whole thing, so let's just leave it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then shade in 1/3. And then you've got 3 holes, so 1, 2, 3, and then shade in 1 little part. Okay, so let's add our holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have 7 holes. And then how many parts do I have down here at the bottom? I have 2. And my denominator is 3. So 7 2/3 is your answer. All right, now let's try a couple subtraction. So I'm going to color in all of it, 5 3/4, because that's my beginning fraction or mixed number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 3 pieces. 1, 2, 3. All right, we are going to take away 3 holes. So get rid of 3. 1, 2, 3. And then I got to get rid of 2/4. So get rid of 2 pieces. 1, 2. So now how many holes do I have left? Well, there's one right here. Here's one right here. So that's 2. And how many pieces left that are shaded? There's 1. And my denominator is 4. So 2 1/4. All right. And then the last one over here, I'm going to shade in 4 holes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, but my problem tells me to get rid of 3 holes. So get rid of 1, 2, 3, and then 4 of my little pieces. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, how many holes do I have left? 1. How many parts? Well, there's only 1 part right there that's we colored in that hasn't been X'd out. You can't color this one right here because we didn't mark it. So it's this one here. So that's 1 piece out of a total of 6. So 1 1/6. Okay, so the last part that I want to show you is actually some of the tricky kind of addition and subtraction with mixed numbers. And these are going to be the ones you're probably going to need a little more practice in. You may need to come back to the video. These are the ones where your answers either lead you to a whole number or to a proper or an improper fraction or a mixed number, or maybe you need to change it back. Or when you go to subtract, there's not enough for you to be able to subtract from. Now, all of these you could draw models, but I'm going to show you some quick ways without having to draw a model, because we've used the model. So these are just some steps in case you did not draw a model, because remember, it's up to you whether you draw the model or you don't. Okay, so let's start with the first one, 4 1/4 plus 3 3/4. So first thing I do is I'm going to add my whole numbers. 4 plus 3, that gives me 7. Then I'm going to add my fractions, which are 1/4 and 3/4, and that gives me 4/4. So look closely at this mixed number. What do you notice? Okay, you've got 4/4 right here. Okay, what do we know about 4/4? 4/4 is a whole. Okay, so if that's a whole, I'm just going to write my one whole right there. You're going to take this 7 and add it to that one whole, which means the answer to this problem would be 8. Now, 7 4/4 is correct, but most people are going to change that 4/4 to a whole and then make that be an answer of 8. All right, look at the next one. Okay, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to add your wholes. 5 plus 2 is 7. Then you add your fractions. 3/6 plus 5/6. Well, my denominator is 6. And 3 plus 5 is 8. All right, what do you notice is wrong with this one? Okay, well, you've got an improper fraction right here. So this is one that gets really, really tricky. Different ways that people draw this one out. So I'm just going to show you one way today. So you could do what Miss Putman has taught you, where I think she drew the C around and she, let's see, I think she drew a C like this and she added or multiplied and then added. So 6 times 7 is 42, plus 8 is 50. And then your denominator stays the same. So 50 over 6 can be your final answer, unless the directions say it needs to be a mixed number, because this is an improper fraction. So let's say I need to change that. Well, a way that I do that is I look at this as like a division problem, 50 divided by 6. So I'm going to skip count by 50. And we use a lot of songs in my class, so I would go 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, and 40, 50. Oh, can't go to 50. I can only go to 48. So I just stick a little 48 right here, just to remind me, okay? And I actually held up 8 fingers when I was skip counting. Those 8 fingers, that's my whole. My denominator is automatically 6 because that's not going to change. But I'm going to come back and compare this 48. How far is 48 from 50? 48, 49, 50, it's 2. So now I have a mixed number. So your answer could be 50 over 6. It could be 8 2/6. Do you see another answer it could be? Well, leave your whole number. What's half of 2? 1. What's half of 6? 3. So your answer could actually be 50 over 6. Technically, it could be 7 and 8 over 6. It could be 8 2/6. It could be 8 1/3. It just depends on whether the question is reducing it down, whether they want it as an improper, or whether they want it as a mixed number. So you have to look at your directions. All right, look at this one. 2 1/2 plus 3 1/2. 2 plus 3 is 5. 1/2 plus 1/2 is 2. My denominator is 2. Okay, remember what I told you, that 2 over 2 means it's a whole. So 5 plus that whole is what? Good, it's 6. Our last addition, 3 plus 4 is 7. 2/4 plus 3/4 is what? 5/4. We can't leave that as an improper. So remember what Ms. Putman taught us. Remember her C, where you times and then you add. 4 times 7 is 28, plus 5 is what? 33. So 33 over 4. If the directions tell you to leave it as an improper, then you're done. But if it doesn't, we got to change that back to a mixed. So I'm going to sing my 4 song and go as far up to 33 as I can. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32. Oh, I can only go to 32, which was 8 fingers because 8 times 4 is 32. Denominator is automatically 4. 32 is 1 from 33. Therefore, the final answer is 8 1/4. All right, to finish us up, let's do a couple subtraction. So if you look at 7 1/5 minus 2 3/5, if you draw 7 1/5, you can do your Xing out and all that. But what if you don't have the materials to draw and you need to work it out like this? Well, what I would do is I would take one of these wholes. So if I take one whole, because you can do 7 minus 2, but we can't do 1/5 minus 3/5. So I'm going to take a whole. And remember, your denominator is 5. So that means if I took a whole, I took 5/5. Well, 5/5 and 1/5 makes 6/5. Another little trick I do is I just add 5 plus 1 gives me 6. Now you can subtract it. 6 wholes minus 2 wholes is 4. 6/5 minus 3/5 is 3/5. 4 3/5. 9 2 6 minus 3 5 6. You can do 9 minus 3, but we can't do 2 minus 5. So I'm going to take a whole from here. I'm going to put a whole back here, which was 6 6. Okay, 6 6 plus this 2 6 makes 8 6. So now 8 minus 3 equals 5. And 8 6 minus 5 6 is 3 6. And we can reduce 3 6 to 1/2. So this could also be 5 1/2. These are definitely going to be some of the problems you're going to want to ask your teacher questions on, because in my opinion, these subtraction are probably the hardest. So please, when you're working some of these out, make sure you ask your teacher if you need some help, because these are tricky. 4 minus 1 we can do, but we cannot do 1/4 minus 2/4. So I'm going to take a whole. Well, when I look at my denominator, a whole is going to be 4/4. So 4/4 plus that 1/4 makes 5/4. So now 3 minus 1 equals 2. 5/4 minus 2/4 equals 3. So your answer is 2 3/4. All right, guys. Well, I hope that you learned a little bit today about adding and subtracting fractions as well as mixed numbers. There was a lot there. So please make sure you talk to your teacher and ask for any help that you may need this week on working out your problems. Thanks, guys.